on, what's in the box? What's in the fucking box?
Welcome everyone to another What's in the Box. This time we have another thing from my new Journeyman Pharaoh army, the Gunboar. This is a Pharaoh light war beast, and their PIP number is 750-30330. He is a light Pharaoh war beast that I will be using in the upcoming Journeyman campaign. Let's open him up and see what's inside. So we flip him over under the sheet here. We always have his card, which we'll set aside so that we can take a look at that later. Pull out the foam, and he's a relatively simple model. We have a medium base. We have the main body. Looks like we have the gun, fist, and the head. So let's just set this blister pack aside. Now remember, never throw away your blisters. Blisters are amazing things. You can put paint in them. You can use them as a wet palette. You can do just about anything with them. They're really great. Let's move that over there and pull the card in. So when you open your box, this is what you're going to get. Let's pull this card and base out of the way, and we'll zoom in, and you can get a better look at this miniature. So, like I'm seeing for a lot of the metal Pharaoh, it's a relatively simple miniature. So let's just take a look at the main section here. The main section is, I would say, most of the model. You can see there's a nice big hole here where his head goes. He does have one of his arms actually molded directly on, and both of his legs. Like all the Pharaoh, you can see his little tail sticking off the back there. This top U shape, which I'll try and get a better angle on for you guys. Let's move it down in the camera a little bit. There we go. So he's got this upper armor around the head area. So there's the head here, and then there's this U-shaped area here where the gun fits in the back. And then you can see that the gun itself is controlled by this cable where he pulls it to fire his gun. We've got a lot of nice detailing and this nice portly belly, which makes me happy because it mirrors my own. So I'm going to flip him over. We'll take a look at the back of this mini. We've got some ring mail on his butt here, as well as up at the top. I'll tilt it up again. We've got the gun mount in the back here, some rear armor. You can see again the one arm molded on and the other arm that's waiting for its end. His wonderful little tail, and he, like a lot of medium-sized miniatures, will have a tab. This little tab here will give him a little bit more support. In both the medium and the large privateer press bases, you'll see that it actually has not only the slot in the bottom, but it also has two post holes. So if instead of your miniature coming with this little slot in the bottom, it instead came with a post like a lot of the heavies do, you'd be able to run a drill through this hole, or you can even use your X-Acto knife and cut out this light material of the base itself, and these peg holes will give it something a little stronger to hold on to. In the case of having this little tab on the bottom here, that tab will just sit into this slot in the base and have them stand up. Now, one thing, when you are going to base your miniature, I always like to put a piece of cellophane tape over there, or sometimes you can fill it with green stuff if you're green stuffing something else, and that stops your glue and sand mixture falling down that hole. All right, so next up, let's take a look at this cannon. The Pharaoh cannons are, I think, unique for being actually square. The only other gun that I can think of that sort of has a similar profile is the Avalanche gun from Signar. It's not actually square. This one actually has a full-on square profile. The avalanche gun, it looks like a square with the sort of the edges chopped off. This guy also, you can see where it's got its mount points. You can see sort of an ammunition cache here, the venting on the top. This point here is actually where it mounts to the back of the miniature. And if I pull that guy up, you can see that this slot here is where this guy will sit in, so that the mass of the gun will actually stick out through that hole. This guy is going to be a lot of fun to paint. He's got a lot of great little detail, this little wheel on the back, a lot of nice open spaces where if I want to, I can do a little bit of work on those. I'm very tempted to drill out this bore. In metals, it's very hard to do deep bores on guns just because it leads to all kinds of miscasting. It's a little bit easier on plastic, so you tend to see those more. But I think it might be fun to take a drill and go down. It doesn't have to go too deep, as long as when I drill it down, I paint the inside black, and it'll give a really nice look of something actually being ready to fire. So there's only two more pieces to this Gunboar. One is his punching fist here. So this fist that just fits over the unhanded, I guess, arm on the main miniature is an open fist in game terms. So that means that it can be used to make, say, throw power attacks. And it also has a spike here that he's obviously using to do a little bit of damage. Unfortunately, since he is a Pharaoh war beast, he's a little bit pillow-fisted, but several of the Pharaoh warlocks can help that out. And last but not least is his head. Like a lot of the Pharaoh, he has a really great head sculpt. They're very personality rich. They give you a really good idea of what they were doing. And it looks like people had a lot of fun actually building these miniatures. Now, this guy doesn't seem to have too many mold lines. I find that sometimes you get a really good casting like this, and there's barely any cleanup work to do, but sometimes you get a lot of casting, a lot of errors casting. Let me see if I can quickly flip through this guy and see if I can find you any significant mold lines. Wow, they've hidden them really well on this model. Usually when you have a model like this, there's a good one, you have some pretty significant mold lines. Now, a good way to find your mold lines, if you're ever wondering this, first thing you'll want to do is find the vents where they've added material to the model. In this case, the vents were in this hoof. So you can see these little scraggly bits here. You can see them also on the bottom of the cannon. These are these little raised rough areas that you'll want to scrape off later on with your knife to get it nice and smooth. This also lets you know the direction and the location of the vent. And the vent will always be along the line of the mold line. So a good way to find a mold line is to start with finding the vent location. So in this case, the vent location is here. And then you can follow that vent location up, and you'll start to be able to find the mold lines. Now on this guy, let's get it nice and centered so you can find the mold line. You can see where the mold went. So it ran up this leg, and then it runs down the leg across the top of the thigh here and up underneath the arm. So this is where the two-part mold went together. The arm could have either been cast as one piece and have the mold line sort of run up inside the fur where you wouldn't really see it, or the mold will actually end up going down the center of the arm. In this case, it looks like they have gone underneath, and then they followed when they were doing the mold cut, they followed under here so that these portions were in one part of the mold as well as this, and this part was in the second half of the mold. And what following that line allows you to do is know that you've caught all of this flashing. Because the last thing you want to do, even though it's going to happen, is you're going to undercoat him, and then you're going to put the first couple of layers of paint on him, and then you're going to find every single mold line that you missed. So when you're actually assembling, make sure that you find all these mold lines and get rid of them. All right, let's take a quick look at the Gunboar stats. The Gunboar is a light Pharaoh war beast, so he's relatively inexpensive. He's only running you 5 points. He is FAU. You can take as many as you want, not that I can see you flooding the board with them. And here he is. He's a Gunboar. He is a speed 5, strength 8, mat 5, rat 5, def 12, arms 17, so he's relatively sturdy, and a command of 6. He actually has 3 weapons, which is kind of nice. He has his gun, which is a range 10, rate of fire of 1, AoE 3, which is nice for getting rid of some infantry, and it's a POW 13. So that's going to do quite a bit of damage, especially if you use some of his fury to boost some of those hits. He is, as I said, a little bit pillow-fisted. He does have 2 open fists, which allow you to do both single and double-handed power attacks. And you can tell that they're open fists because they have the open fist symbol. As I said, they are a little pillow-fisted at only 11, but that is to be expected in a light war beast. If we flip him over, one of the greatest things about a war beast is that your caster suddenly gets another spell. In this case, his animus is Counterblast. Counterblast is great. It is very much like Countercharge. When an enemy model advances and ends its movement in this model's command range, this model can make either a melee or ranged attack against it. As soon as it makes that attack, Counterblast expires, and Counterblast lasts for 1 turn. An important thing to note here with most Privateer Press stuff is if it says may, then it doesn't have to expire. You can actually choose when. So it's not like, say, if you're used to playing 40K with Overwatch or something like that, you can wait to set it off whenever you want. This really is sort of the Overwatch of Privateer Press's world. And it does have a really fun little rule that I haven't seen before. Now, as I said, this is my first light Pharaoh war beast, so I'm not totally surprised. And the Gunboar has a rule called Bacon. Bacon. When this model is destroyed, a war beast that isn't base to base with it can heal D3 damage points. If you have your guys nice and grouped up, this is a great way for a dying beast to actually do something. And one of the nice things is that once he has died, remember that your bone grinders are going to be able to use this animus as well. So that looks like everything that we need to know for right now about the Gunboar. So thanks once again, everybody, for watching.